Welcome back. Well, it's been thawing out. Then we had a little bit of deep freeze with the chilly night, so the roads become a little bit slick. So joining us today to talk about how to keep yourself safe, Jessica Schindeldecker from the Fargo P D. So it is kind of that crazy time where, you know, you're during the day, you're like, oh, this is fine. You get up in the morning, you're like, woo, I'm sliding a little bit too much. So what are some key things we should be doing?
So now is really going to be that time where not only when we have like those weather events, but now it's almost every morning we need to be prepared for that little bit of extra travel time. We had a nice dusting of snow coming down, which makes those roadways really slippery. So we need to remember that not only do we need to increase following distance, slow down, but also get up a little earlier and making sure we're warming up our vehicles and getting those windshields cleared off sufficiently before you go out on those roadways. So just making sure, you know, we're North Dakotans. We understand this, but we also have to remember that right now, this time of year, is getting very warm during the day. The sun is melting things, and then it gets cool at night and drops below freezing again. So then we get those slick roadways. So we just need to remember that they're not going to be what they were at, during your drive home the day before in the morning. They're going to be a little slippery, so just taking those extra precautions.
Okay, you get that black ice thing going on this time of year, and so just to be aware. So you were telling me that yesterday you did kind of a cool thing to help promote your guys' Facebook page as well, but you did sort of a live traffic Q&A deal on Facebook. Tell us a little bit about that and what were some of the more common questions you were getting.
Sure. So Traffic Tuesday is something we've been doing on our Facebook page for quite a while now, and I was struggling to figure out what kind of topic we want to talk about yesterday and drive forward for information. And we have a lot of common complaints where no turn signals, things like that. So I thought, you know what? This could be opening a can of worms, but let's do this as a Q&A. People could drop their questions below, and I was fairly open yesterday, so I thought I have the time to sit there and watch the comments come in and respond to people and look up, you know, answers to their questions if I didn't know them off the top of my head. And some things I had to, you know, legitimately look up again to make sure, okay, I don't want to tell them something was something different than what is underneath the ordinance. So, I mean, some of those common ones, especially like turn signals and school zones. So those were the top ones that people were concerned about.
But like, what are the questions? What are they asking you? What do you mean?
So turn signals, such as, can you do more enforcement of people not using their turn signals or improper lane uses? So when you're turning from a right turn to from one way, you need to turn into the closest lane. But can I do that? So if I'm going to take a left turn and I have just a green light, and then they have a green light, can we turn at the same time? Well, the answer is yes and no, right? So you can, because technically this person turning right onto that roadway needs to and should be turning into the closest lane, and you should be turning into the closest lane. However, you can't assume that this driver is going to turn into the closest lane, because if they do turn into that one, yes, there's a lane violation here, but you didn't yield to them, so there's two different violations at the same time. And then you have a crash and you have deductibles, and
All right, so talk about the school zone. What are people saying there?
And that's a common complaint we get a lot, is school zones, and why don't you have a presence in the school zones? And the unfortunate thing is, I think that a lot of people don't understand how the Fargo Police Department is staffed throughout the city. The city's broken into 4 districts, 13 beats. Minimum staffing is at that 13 officers, so one officer per beat. And during those school zones there's a lot of accidents that occur, crashes occur, and there's also still calls for service that occur during that time frame. So our officers do the best to get into those school zones. There's more school zones than there are officers. So they try to get into them as best as they can during that time frame when children are commuting to school, when other drivers are bringing their children to school as well. Those school zones are 15 miles per hour and people are blowing through them. They're not being cognizant and slowing down, especially during these snowy conditions. So what's scary, especially for a little bit, we had really tall snowbanks, right? Making it difficult for not only vehicles to see other people trying to pull up, but also children to cross some of those roadways. Eagles Elementary, it's over on South University Drive, very busy arterial road, right? Same with 32nd Avenue. You've got Ed Clapp down there. So we just really need our drivers, our community to come together, slow down, and know that we do our best to get there, but we can't be everywhere at all times.
Have you thought about doing the camera thing and trying to send in the mail like, hey, we got you at 35, one of those deals, or no?
Well, we can't just do that. So that would have to be a legislative session and everything. So that's a whole nother beast to do that. But then also...
Let's not go there, okay?
Yeah, let's not go
thank
there.
you. I don't like those things. So I think I cut you off. Anything else you want to add?
Oh, I don't know where I was going with that. But I mean, like, it's just all coming together and making sure that we're being careful drivers as a community, looking out for each other, anticipating drivers who aren't paying attention, aren't able to stop. So that way, maybe you could be the person to avoid that crash from happening.
Great stuff. Thanks for being here. We appreciate it. And fill out your Facebook page. Are you doing that every Tuesday? So if people want to go participate, what do they do?
Well, we just follow our Facebook page. A lot of times with the algorithm, it'll be interesting because people will still just be seeing that post today or tomorrow.
Right.
So we still will respond to those comments as quickly as we can. But if you don't want to miss that, go and put See First with the Fargo Police Department page, so that way it shows up at the top of your news feed. Each week we try to feature something on Traffic Tuesday on Tuesdays, and then we have our Who Are They Wednesdays, Felony Fridays. So we try to push out as much helpful information.
See First. I have no idea what you're talking about. So next time we have you back, we're going to do a whole social media thing so you can explain to people how to best follow you guys. All right. Thanks for being here. All right. Stick around. We got much more coming up right after this.